So is AI going to take 300 million jobs, or is this all just a bunch of hype? I mean, the headlines are everywhere, and they're all over the place. One day it's the end of work as we know it, the next, it's just business as usual. Today, we're going to cut through all that noise and get to the reality of what AI actually means for your career. Okay, let's dive in. Here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at those sensational prophecies that grab all the headlines. Then, we'll hit pause and do a reality check with the latest data. After that, we'll explore why the real story is about reshaping jobs, not just replacing them. We'll make it concrete with a real-world case study on lawyers, and then we'll wrap up with the new skills you're actually going to need to thrive in this new world. All right, let's get into it. The AI job prophecy. This is where those huge, scary, headline-grabbing predictions live. You know, the forecasts that have fueled a ton of excitement and, let's be honest, a whole lot of anxiety. Let's just start with this number, 300 million. This thing has been everywhere. It comes from a big Goldman Sachs report predicting that generative AI could displace the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs around the globe. I mean, a number that massive is just impossible to ignore. It completely frames the conversation around this colossal worldwide shift. And of course, the predictions don't stop there. A recent analysis from McKinsey brought the focus to the US and suggested that if companies go all in on AI, activities that take up nearly half of all work hours in the country could, in theory, be automated. Again, it's a staggering figure that suggests a complete rewiring of our entire economy. So, with numbers like that flying around, you gotta ask, right? Is this really it? Is this the great disruption we've all been hearing about for years? It's a question that really gets to the heart of all our fears about the future. Okay, so we've heard the giant predictions. Now let's take a deep breath and look at what's actually happening. What does the data tell us about the job market right now, since these powerful AI tools have been out in the wild? And here's where it gets really interesting. A super detailed analysis from the Yale Budget Lab looked at the entire US labor market and found, well, this. Basically, no major economy-wide disruption. So now we've got a puzzle, right? We have these massive predictions about the future on one hand and a pretty stable present on the other. What gives? This chart really helps put things in perspective. The Yale researchers basically measured how fast the mix of jobs in the economy is changing. In our current AI era, that mix has changed by about 8%. Now look back at the internet boom. It was 7%. So yeah, the pace is a little faster now, but it is not some unprecedented off-the-charts spike. It's really in the same ballpark as previous big tech shifts. And if you think about it, history tells us this stuff just takes time, right? Computers didn't transform every single office the day they were invented. The internet took years to become central to how every business runs. These huge economic transformations are marathons, not sprints. They unfold over decades. So what is really going on here? If it's not this mass replacement of jobs, what is actually happening? Well, the answer seems to be all about reshaping our workflows, not just eliminating our jobs entirely. McKinsey has a great way of putting it. They call it a partnership. See, it's not about humans versus machines. It's about humans with machines. The idea is that AI and robots take on the routine, repetitive, boring stuff, and that frees up people to focus on what we do best. High-level problem solving, using our judgment, and providing that critical human oversight. Goldman Sachs actually has a model that explains why we haven't seen the big shockwaves yet. For the last few years, we've been in the first two phases, building the hardware, all those fancy chips, and expanding the cloud infrastructure to support it all. We are just now moving into phase 3, the application phase. This is where companies start weaving AI deep into their actual day-to-day workflows. The massive productivity gains and the major job shifts, that all comes later in phase 4. Okay, let's make this less abstract. What does this human-AI partnership actually look like in the real world? Let's take a look at lawyers. So check this out. A survey of lawyers in Luxembourg found that they aren't using AI to replace themselves. They're using it as a kind of superpowered assistant for very specific, very time-consuming tasks. Almost 40% use it for drafting documents, 36% for legal research, and about a third for translation. These are the building blocks of legal work, not the final strategic product. But it's not a simple story. On one hand, the promise is huge. Goldman Sachs thinks AI could automate 44% of legal tasks, and we all heard about how GPT-4 passed the bar exam in the top 10%. But the peril is just as real. These AI models can hallucinate and literally invent fake case law. They pose a huge risk to client confidentiality, and everything they produce has to be constantly verified by a human expert. And this quote from a lawyer in that study just hits the nail on the head. A lawyer's job isn't just about processing facts. It's about understanding a client's emotional and social situation. All those uniquely human things that an algorithm just can't get. This is really where that human-AI partnership hits its limit.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you and me? We've looked at the hype, the reality, and a real-world example. So what skills are actually going to matter in this new landscape? So while AI might not be taking your job tomorrow, it is absolutely changing what employers are looking for. This data from McKinsey is pretty stunning. They looked at job postings and found that the demand for AI fluency, basically the ability to use and manage AI tools, has grown 7-fold in just 2 years. That is a massive signal from the job market.
But at the same time, the skills that AI can't replicate, they're becoming more valuable than ever. McKinsey points to this core set of human-centric skills that are still essential. Things like communication, leadership, complex problem-solving, customer relations. The stuff that requires nuance and empathy. These are the skills that AI will augment, not automate away.
And this really sums it all up perfectly. The value in the workplace is shifting. It's moving away from being the person who simply executes routine tasks to being the person who can orchestrate a complex system where people and AI work together. It's a fundamental move from just doing to directing.
So where does that leave us? The whole debate has been framed as this huge threat, but the evidence really suggests it's more of a transition. So maybe the most important question you can ask yourself isn't a passive one about what AI will do to you. It's an active one. What will you do with it? How are you going to make it a partner in your work? That's the real challenge and the real opportunity that's ahead for all of us.